Hi, welcome. I'm Felicia DePaula, and we are live from Taos Mesa Brewing in Taos, New Mexico. I am the program specialist with the New Mexico Economic Development Department. The Rural Efficient Business Program is a partnership between EDD, New Mexico State University, and the New Mexico Manufacturing Extension Partnership. The program strives to assist rural small businesses and agricultural producers in New Mexico to reduce energy consumption, increase profits, and explore ways to implement renewable energy systems. John Winscott, Economic and Energy Diversification Coordinator, long title, with MNERD, is joining me today, and we're excited to be here. We're also joined by Jalal from New Mexico State University, and Jason Ray Wiley, CEO and President of Taos Mesa Brewing, will also be joining us in just a bit. So Jalal, I know that you guys need to get started on your assessment, but thank you for taking a few minutes to chat with us and just kind of go over what these assessments look like and what businesses can expect in the future. So let's just jump into a couple questions. How did the energy efficiency program get started, and can you tell me more about your current staff and operations?
So, good morning, everybody. I'm Jalal Rastigari. I'm from the College of Engineering, New Mexico State University. The college had the energy efficiency program for the last 22 years. So it's not something new. We had it for many years. Mostly what we are looking for is very comprehensive program. It's called pollution prevention, energy efficiency. So it's not only energy, we are looking at the pollution. We are very concerned about the environment. And so we are looking for water, for the waste, for the chemicals. Energy is part of it as well. So we are looking for everything in the facilities. That's what we are doing. So that's the program started about 22 years ago. We so far have helped many businesses in New Mexico. Our recommendation suggested more than $10 million in the last 5 years. If the businesses, they implement our recommendation, they can really save money on water, on energy, on environment, and the best of all, they don't get fined by EPA because we give them heads up, so they know what's wrong and how they can fix it. So
that's a plus.
And you touched on some of this already, but what are some common items that you look for during these energy assessments? How much do they vary depending on the business that you're looking at?
Okay. Yeah, depending on the size of the business, the type of the business, so we have a big list of, I have all these lists here that we go through. We are checking for, water, whether they are efficient on water. Some breweries we had that they were using 12 gallons to produce 1 gallon of beer, and that's not very efficient. We had businesses that they were using 4, so, there is a range of 4 to 12. So we are looking, how efficient on water, what equipment they are using, what is their process for the cleaning. So we are looking at everything for the breweries. Other businesses, we are looking for, what kind of equipment do they have. If the equipment is old, does it make sense to replace it with energy efficient one? How much does it cost? So we do all of this, and depending on the businesses, we have a range of recommendations that they can go, and we will help them to implement some of those things.
So when we connected you with Jason, what has he had to do from that point to this point to prepare for this assessment?
Okay. So it's important to have 1 year of billings for the utilities. That's really important. So we go over the bills and see how is the energy consumption. That's really important. And we have gathered some background information on the business, what they are doing, how long have they been in business, what is their strengths, what is their weaknesses, how. So those are some of the things that, we ask questions if they already have done some kind of efficiency before, what stage they are. So those are some kind of background. And if we don't get those questions, then we visit the facility, we ask the manager, some of those questions. The things that we do is all confidential. We're not going to share it with anybody, so they should be very comfortable using it with us. And it's only for us to come up with the best solutions.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mhm. And once your team comes in, how long does it usually take, or what do you anticipate in this case, like for the time that your team will be working on the assessment?
Before the pandemic, we did it like in 2 to 3 days, depending on the size of the businesses. We have a presentation, so we go through the presentation and explaining exactly what we are doing, what is needed, what needs to be done, and if they have a question, they can ask all those questions, and we review the question again. So, but now due to the pandemic, we are having it short. A lot of this information can be shared. We are online, and that's something that we are doing. And usually now we are trying to do the hybrid, so we do some calling and some online visit. And for this facility, I think it's going to take about 4 or 5 hours to do it. And that's I haven't seen the whole facility yet.
Yeah, sure.
It's bigger than you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can finish it. Because we have a list that we have to go and take all those things, and we need to do everything correctly and gather as much information. So hopefully we come up with the good recommendation.
Okay. Well, we won't take up much more of your time because I know your team needs to get started. But one more question. Once the results are given to Jason and Taos Mesa Brewing, what will their next steps be?
Okay, so there are a few steps when we start the process. So when we gather all the information, we go back to the office, we start working on it, and we do a lot of calculation, coming up with the report. We do a lot of research, what is the best option for this particular business. So when we did all of this research and come up with the recommendation, we send it to Jason and ask him to review it. If you have any question, any concern, any comments, we can discuss. And definitely, he has been in business. He has some ideas also. We can share those ideas. And there are, resources available. Like if you want to go solar, there are USDA grants that are available. If he wants to use, there are some other incentives for every business. There are some incentives that they can use. So we go over the incentives and see how we can help them to start implementing those recommendations.
So the
We
finance.
are really interested in implementing. We just don't want to go, make the recommendation and they don't implement. The ones that implement the recommendation, there are 3 kinds of recommendation. No cost recommendation. There are some that doesn't cost much, simple adjustment, and turning the lights off when you are not in the office. Those are easy things that either doesn't cost, or some of them that are not costing much, but there are some that need investments. So we have with all of those, and we try to come up with some solution that would be guys to see what is available out there.
Awesome.
So yeah, those are the sort of things that we are.
Okay. Did you have any other questions for Joel before he jumps in?
No, I think that's everything.
Okay. Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
taking
much.
the time, and we will.
So I get started
Yes.
right away?
Good to see you,
Yeah,
Joel,
thanks.
and
All right, thanks for
get to work.
Thank you.
Great.
I can start touring you guys around.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason,
Yeah.
for inviting us into your brewery. This is cool.
No problem. Morning,
I've never
welcome.
been here. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's morning.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Um,
And before we get started, I've never been in a brewery before. Is this just the brewery room, or
This,
yeah.
so this is where the fermenters and the hot side are. So this
Okay.
is where we make the mash, cook the wort, boil the wort, add the hops, and ferment the wort into beer. And several other coolers around here are kegs and some big serving tanks where that beer goes to condition and carbonate.
Oh, cool. Wow. So, Jason, can you give us like the history of Taos Mesa Brewing?
Sure.
And just,
It was founded in around 2010. We broke ground. There was a real bootstrap project. 4 of us original founders, 2 of which are still around and on the board, myself and Peter Colson. We built it from the ground up. We put everything together ourselves. There's been improvements since then. We've upgraded the brew house and things like that. We had a vision of having, a community center, so to speak. It is a for-profit business, but a place where people gather, see music, live music, have beer, have food, enjoy themselves, and we'll be celebrating 10 years next August.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Mhm.
That's exciting.
And with COVID having hit the hospitality industry so hard, what made you focus on making Taos Mesa Brewing more energy efficient, and why has that become a priority for you?
Well, it's always, we've always had it as a priority, and to be honest, the capital outlay for what I really deem as 2 of the cornerstones, which you all spoke to, which is our energy consumption, because we're all electric here because there is no natural gas out this far. We're in a rural area, hence the rural economic development. And our waste stream is limited us in terms of our growth because we're on a commercial septic system. And so what we've always had a mindful eye on how we can, insert new technology to make ourselves more efficient so that we can grow more, to reduce the amount that we spend on energy, to reduce our energy consumption. However, prior to COVID, it seemed that often these resources that we really needed to execute were out of our reach from a capital perspective. And what COVID has really taught me in the business is that there's a lot of resources out there, and from programs such as yours in economic development to SBDC to USDA extension services. COVID really impressed upon me that actually that's not really that as far out of reach as you think. And COVID, frankly, we hit the pause button for 18, 20 months. So it kind of gave you some time and we had to reach out and try to find those resources to make it through that period of COVID. So I think it helped us really kind of step back and get our hand out from in front of our face to realize that priority wasn't as far out of reach as we thought it was.
Wow. Well, that's inspiring. That's definitely inspiring because I think a lot of people are really turned off right now by trying to make these adjustments that are going to affect the long term rather than initially. So I think that hopefully gives other businesses hope. So what have you already changed about the brewery that makes it more energy efficient?
Well, we've done several things. I mean, the building's mostly heated passively. There's a huge passive solar. There's clear Luxan panels on the front of this building. It's a quantitative building, so that's why I'm doing this. So majority of the heat gain is from passively. As we know, New Mexico, sun shines almost every day of the year. So we were able to harvest that. We started the building with radiant floor heating throughout, which is, I believe more efficient, especially when coupled with that solar gain. We've committed ourselves to an energy recovery unit, which is our HVAC unit, which is able to, it's a very expensive air conditioner basically that can heat or cool and pulls in reclaimed air from the building and or outside and mixes those so that you can have a nice temperature inside. Like our waste stream, from the brewing perspective, there's multiple waste streams. One is liquid and the other is solids. So all the grain, the barley that we use, which can be anywhere between 1,500 and 5,000 pounds, a week, that barley is side streamed to a local 4-H club, and it goes to a program for underprivileged children that want to steward animals but don't have the resources to really do that, meaning they can't feed them. So we're helping in that way, and that comes almost like a part of a cottage industry that waste stream is going to help somebody raise an animal, to learn about that husbandry. We're working on a plan right now to reclaim our wastewater effluent flow from the brewery, and that's just the brewery. So that doesn't mean that there's any other waste, like kitchen waste or human waste in that. So the brew house has a separate discharge, and we right now have to have that waste stream pumped and hauled because it can't be discharged. That the waste that a brewery creates is what's called high strength, and it means that there needs a lot of oxygen is needed to break it down. Okay, and if you put that waste into like our municipal wastewater treatment facility, which is small, it can upset it, and because they have bugs and microorganisms in that plant to break down the other waste. So what we are going to install, what we are dedicated to, is installing a reactor system, a waste treatment system here, and to be able to reclaim that water and use it back on site for irrigation.
So you're like super knowledgeable about all of this stuff. I'm just curious, like, did you read a lot? Like, how did you get connected to all of these great ideas?
Well, it's the ecology and extractive economies are something that we need to manage for the well-being of communities, the well-being of the planet in general, and the long haul, as you were referring to earlier. Waste, brewing waste was our biggest hurdle, honestly, to overcome that I didn't anticipate when we were opening the business, and that just kind of unfolded, and I started to educate myself. I have partners who worked up at the Ski Valley treatment facility in Taos Ski Valley that were helping me and feeding me, giving me resources and periodicals and things. So it was just by way of having to live through it and try to figure out the best way to deal with it. We had a solar. What do you call it? These guys are doing audit, energy assessment done in 2015 by a private solar company, because we knew that our energy consumption from the electrical side was profound, and we wanted to offset that both for our financial gain and as well as wanting to use as much green as we could, and that set me down a path then to really understand what that means and understanding how electricity works and things like that. So it's just pretty much like on-the-job training, as you could say.
Okay.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Sure. And since you had requested something similar to this in the past, what necessarily prompted you to come to, say, Felicia or Jalal this time around and request this new energy assessment?
Well, it goes back to that, maximizing every resource at your fingertips. Throughout COVID, we used SBDC, SBA, USDA. So just looking for what is out there, and there's a lot out there. I want to stress to people that there are a lot of programs, a lot of people that can really point you in the right direction if you have the drive and the want to do it. You won't be left in the dark. There's a lot of things that you can maximize. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I think that's a huge intimidating factor for a lot of businesses is, here's these great ideas, Jalal comes in, makes these recommendations, but what do you do at that point?
Right, and once you have that, that's a huge resource, because once you have that and you have your foot in the door, so to speak, you start to look at grant programs, you start to look at cheap financing programs, which are state supported or government supported, to help you along the way. Because ultimately that will reduce, the strain on the existing systems. It will help, businesses survive and thrive and hire more people, and So the ultimate end goal is that that very community oriented, that ecosystem, mentality.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like you have a huge circular economy just going on already from helping out the kiddos with the animals to. It's a really brilliant ecosystem that you have going on here. So what are some challenges that you've faced with these energy efficient upgrades, or that you wished you'd known more about when you began the process?
Well, the biggest challenge, like I said, is the capital outlay. And there's incentives now, there have been, but it was just being so much in the mix of trying to run the daily grind of the business that you really, and often don't, you feel like you don't, and you often don't have the time to really sit down and read through what potential programs are out there and so on and so forth. But once you latch on to one, or you find somebody in an office that is, you start that relationship, it actually isn't as cumbersome as one might think. So the biggest challenge for me, I guess, was just getting stuck in what we were doing as a business. We had 2 locations. Before COVID, we had almost 80 employees. We built back up now to over 50, but it's, I think that is the biggest challenge. Is how do you find the time? And I would say once you find it, it'll be like, well, there it is. I'm doing this now.
Yeah. I mean, do you have something in place, if we do have a huge breakout again, or if there's a shutdown, do you know how you're going to manage it?
I mean, let's just hope that there isn't. I mean,
yes.
Anything can happen,
Not
right? We were really, we were one of the first movers into, an online ordering platform, all-to-go menu and things like that. We have a plan in place as we rebuild, because we did have a fire at the location we're at now, not in the brew house here, but in the front of the house where our bar and performance area were. So we're going to diversify our product line. We're going to move into distilled products as well as cider making and canning, because if, we didn't, before when COVID occurred, we were 100% keg beer, out of the tap over the counter. Well, that wasn't happening. So if you had the ability to can your product, or whatever, you actually did pretty well, because people had to go get beer at the grocery store and go home. so those kind of things we're going to implement. We're moving here at this location, which is also a performance center. We're moving all performances outside as we rebuild. So we have a big amphitheater. We're going to install a secondary, smaller outdoor covered stage that'll play to a covered heated area, but it'll still be open air. So, I think consumer confidence, if there is another outbreak, it can be managed, and we can still do things outside and not interrupt completely. Venues were the first to shut down and the last to reopen. So we're hoping that those changes, by diversifying that product line, as well as, concentrating and focusing on an open air space in beautiful New Mexico, will help us mitigate some kind of huge interruption.
Awesome. That's a great plan.
And what advice would you give other rural communities and businesses wanting to follow your lead? What are some resources that they can utilize to start the process?
I would say go online, go to state websites, go to SBA, go to SBDC. Simply call your SBDC officer and ask them what are the resources, what plans. This is my business. This is what I do. What would work for me, and they will be able to guide you very easily. Put down a path. You can have a one-on-one meeting with them. It can be email. They're incredibly helpful and very open. And I would just very much encourage people, because we really didn't exercise use any of those resources prior to COVID. Now I don't see a situation where we'll ever let them go, as we keep building. So.
And I think we had a good conversation this week with New Mexico Investment, and they stressed the fact not to be intimidated by loans, because right now, so many companies are just really working to keep a low interest. What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, so loans are a tricky business, and they can be very scary. We have SBA-backed loans. We did get an idle, and that idle is locked at 3.75. And so, if you have the right performance and projections, which again, an SBDC officer can help you with, to know what your cash flow is and what you can sustain, getting money like that's cheap and locked in to help grow your business is actually a good business move. You have to be careful about and trepidatious about some loans. You don't want to get into variable interest. You don't want to get into these very high interest rate loans, which interest rates are low now, but they will go back up. But if you're using that money to grow your business, to build your business back up, it can be very, there's no business that does it without a loan, as far as I know. Yeah. And that goes for the biggest businesses down to the smallest mom and pops. So just I would say be wise, be cautious, and use that SBDC officer to ask them they have simple tools about cash flow analysis that can help you, for you to understand what you can afford and what you can't.
Perfect. Well, I know just we're about done, but I know you had mentioned a solar array at a certain point because you have such land. What is your perspective and goal with that at this
The
point?
goal with that is to be perhaps the largest solar array in Taos. There's some big ones, or I would say we'd be up there, top 3.
Mhm.
Our local electric co-op is vying to become the first electric co-op that's 100% renewable.
Oh, wow.
We'd like to join in partnership with them to be able to help that. And we're on 5 acres. Most of that is a parking lot. So really believe that we could have a huge array that not only benefits us, but ties back into the grid and benefits others and helps our electric co-op on down the path towards their own sustainability goals.
That's amazing. We will definitely be taking another trip up here to check that out. Thank you so much for your time. I am going to close out here with a PowerPoint. God willing, it works and agrees with us today. All right.
All right, cool.
Great. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jason.
I'm gonna try to catch up with these guys.
Yes.
Phone's blowing up. I was doing it too.
Perfect. All right. Let me get into this PowerPoint. Let's see if that's working out for me. Oh, we're going to have to do it this way. Well, so a quick thank you to our partners at New Mexico MEP and NMSU for any energy assessment needs. Please contact Jalal. I will provide his contact information just coming up here.
Okay, then I'll get that out.
And this just gives a breakdown of how the assessments work. I'm not going to get into this because I would be lying if I tried to explain all of this. But Jalal's contact information is rastegar@nmsu.edu. Please feel free to also contact me if you'd like to schedule an energy assessment, and I can connect you to Jalal. Also, at New Mexico MEP, there are a team of manufacturing and engineering experts that are available to assist manufacturers overcome barriers to growth. So they can provide trainings. Jennifer Sensabaugh is the contact there and can connect you with any of your potential needs. Again, it's info@newmexicomep.org. So feel free to also contact me if you have any questions about that. And then I just wanted to give a quick breakdown of how the Rural Efficient Business Program works. A lot of people don't know where to start. So a good start is to go to our website at www.nmruralbiz.com. And there you can identify what your needs are. Are you interested in solar? Are you interested in an energy assessment? Are you interested in learning more about MEP? Are you interested in getting financial support? So when you identify that need, you can then connect with myself or Joanna Nelson, and we will connect you with any and all resources that we have available at our fingertips. So Jason mentioned a lot of those resources today and was very adamant about the help that SBDC can provide. So I think that that's a great start. We work closely with NMSBA as well. So please, at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. I can definitely provide my slide deck. I will shoot that out to anybody. My email I will drop in the chat, and please just send a request over and I will provide you a copy of the deck. Please know that a recording of this will be on our YouTube channel immediately following this. Thank you everybody for joining us. John, thank you again. And a big thank you to Taos Mesa Brewing and New Mexico State University for letting us intrude in their energy assessment for the first few minutes. We're going to go catch up with them and see what the live action looks like. And we hope within the next month, we can give you an update of how the assessment went over here in Taos. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a great day.